You ever have one of those days where you just need to vent? You go to your partner, ready to unload, and they immediately start trying to fix it when all you really wanted was for them to just listen? It's like a classic relationship moment, right? Well, today, we're going to use that super common frustration as a jumping off point to get into the much deeper and honestly, more subtle red flags that can signal real trouble in a relationship. Let's get into it.
So this all kind of kicks off with a really relatable story from psychologist Douglas Kenrick. His wife jokingly came up with this phrase, toxic problem solving, for that exact knee-jerk reaction to just jump in with a solution. And it's funny because it's so familiar, right? But it also plays into this really old stereotype about how men and women are supposed to communicate.
And that really is the big question, isn't it? Is this whole thing about problem solving versus just listening actually a guy thing? Or is that just a myth that's kind of distracting us from what's really going on?
Okay, so let's just dive right in and tackle that stereotype head on. I mean, for decades, we've been fed this idea that men and women are basically from different planets, especially when it comes to handling stress.
You know the classic thinking. It goes something like this. Men use problem-focused coping. They want to find the solution and fix the issue. Women, on the other hand, are supposed to prefer emotion-focused coping. They want to talk about the feelings surrounding the problem. It sounds plausible, I guess, but does the science actually agree?
And that brings us to the science of it all. Researchers have been digging into this for years. And luckily for us, we've got these huge meta-analyses that pull together the data from tons of different studies and gives us a much clearer picture of what's really happening. And this is where it gets really interesting. One of these massive studies looked at how people actually cope with stress and how they support other people. And what they found pretty much turns that whole stereotype on its head.
And here it is. This is the big surprise. When you actually look at the data for how people offer support to someone else, the story completely changes. Just look at this chart. For both men and women, the tallest bar by far is problem-centered support. That's right, when it comes to helping another person, we all tend to lead with solutions. So that whole idea that men are the fixers and women are the feelers, yeah, the data says that's just a myth. So what's the takeaway here? It's that this whole toxic problem-solving thing being a gender issue is a huge oversimplification. The real toxic behaviors, the actual red flags that we should all be looking out for, they have absolutely nothing to do with gender. And frankly, they're way more dangerous.
Okay, so let's shift gears and focus on what really matters. We need to look past these simple communication mix-ups and learn how to spot the behaviors that are actually rooted in control and manipulation.
These are the signs you just can't afford to ignore. That need to control what you're doing or who you're seeing. A type of jealousy that isn't just a little flicker of insecurity, but a really dominating force in the relationship. A pattern of lying that makes it completely impossible to build any kind of trust. And this one is critical. Any attempt to cut you off from your friends and family, your support system. You know, one of the trickiest tactics to spot is something called love bombing. It feels incredible at first, right? This intense wave of affection, constant compliments, amazing gifts. But the thing is, it's not actually about love. It's a manipulation tactic, and it's designed to get you hooked and make you easier to control down the line.
And as social worker Jennifer Kelman explains it, the whiplash from this is just brutal. The same person who puts you on this incredible pedestal can flip a switch and turn on you in an instant. And it leaves you totally confused, heartbroken, and just wondering what on earth you did wrong, when really you were the target of a very deliberate strategy.
So this all leads to a really important question. I mean, if these signs are so obvious when we look back, why are they so incredibly hard to see when we're right in the middle of it?
So, yeah, why do we miss them? It's definitely not because we're dumb or naive. The truth is, our own brains have these little blind spots that can make us really vulnerable. Psychologically, there are a few things going on. First, you've got the honeymoon high. Our brains are just flooded with these feel-good hormones that can literally cloud our better judgment. Then there's something called cognitive dissonance. It's that uncomfortable feeling you get when someone's actions don't match up with what you believe about them. So to make it easier, you just ignore the bad stuff. Third is confirmation bias. We are actively looking for proof that you made the right choice, and you filter out anything that says you didn't. And finally, and this is a big one, our own past traumas can actually make an unhealthy relationship feel familiar and, sadly, almost normal.
Now, there's a common story out there that women are the main victims of toxic relationships. And while women absolutely face unique and serious dangers, it is so crucial to understand that men get trapped too, and often for very different reasons.
So check out this statistic. It's pretty startling. Studies show that almost 70% of divorces are actually initiated by women.
Now, this isn't about placing blame on anyone, it's about understanding the different dynamics at play.
And that brings up a really tough question. If women are, statistically speaking, more likely to be the ones to end a marriage, why do so many men stay stuck in deeply unhealthy, sometimes even abusive relationships, often for years on end?
Well, the reasons are pretty complex. There's often a fixer mentality, this belief that if they just try a little harder, they can solve all the problems. There is also a deep, deep fear of vulnerability. I mean, society pretty much programs men to avoid the shame that comes with being seen as a victim. A lot of guys also just avoid conflict at all costs because they're terrified of the messy, painful process of a breakup. And sometimes, honestly, it's just inertia. It feels way easier to stay in a bad situation than to face the scary uncertainty of leaving.
This image really captures that internal battle. There's so much societal pressure on men to deny any kind of vulnerability, to just put on a brave face even when they might be completely falling apart on the inside. This pressure to always be strong can trap them in silence and make it feel almost impossible to admit that they're hurting or to ask for help.
Okay, so we've busted a big myth, and we've identified some real dangers. But spotting red flags is really only half the battle. The real goal is to start actively looking for what's healthy. It's really about shifting your whole focus. So instead of just trying to avoid control, start looking for mutual respect. Instead of trying to spot manipulation, seek out open and honest communication. Instead of fearing isolation, build a relationship that actually encourages trust and celebrates your independence. These are the green flags. These are the signs of a truly healthy partnership.
Because really, at the end of the day, a healthy relationship isn't one that doesn't have any problems. That's not realistic. It's one where two people have enough self-awareness to see their own patterns, and they have a shared commitment to making conscious, healthy choices, together, day after day.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Moving forward, what is one green flag? One positive, healthy dynamic that you're going to consciously start looking for, not just in a romantic partner, but in all of your relationships?